So I literally started this in the 1st of August, the podcast that is.
Oh, okay, so only, brand spanking new.
Yeah. I mean, I recorded some episodes before, but I just talked with an audio engineer yesterday, or somebody to help me edit. So it's going to make things go by much smoother.
Nice. Just having some cut and paste and just smooth everything out. That's cool.
Yeah. And he actually does voiceovers and stuff like that, so he's like, well, whenever we get there, we can look at it. But I think so far I've maybe recorded 30 episodes or so. I'm supposed to do one actually tonight. Yeah. I mean, that was the thing. It's like take some time off and kind of figure out like what matters or what's important. And with that, I was like, you know what? I've been wanting to just have conversations with people. And I watched a lot of the Joe Rogan podcast, and his is like that's basically how he started. He's a comedian, and they just talk with people answering questions, and people just kept requesting. It's like, hey, can you do more? Can you do more? And he's like, okay. Like they started at his house, then they built like a studio, and then went from like one studio to a bigger studio. And he's had, I think he just interviewed what's that guy's name? Is it Edward Snowden?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's pretty deep in Joe Rogan.
So you're just back there smiling. It's like I can't make eye contact.
The Snowden episode.
Like I fell asleep a little bit because I just had a long day, but I was like, okay. It's just strange. It's like everything's.
So it fills the time really well. You know, an hour and a half podcast. But
right.
That's one trip.
That's true. That's a big reason why I started doing it, because I was like, every day, over the past 8 years, it's just been like you always working on the road or even commuting. It's at least an hour, and you either fill the time with music, but after a while that kind of gets boring if you have a short playlist. But then if you decide to, I was able to listen to a lot of books during that time, so that helped me out a lot.
I feel like with music too, there's like an instant gratification that you're looking for. Like you have a vibe in your head, and you're like, okay, I know this song gets me like happy or pumped up, or like, you know, it's the weekend vibe.
Right.
Whereas, you know, you have to put work into that. So like, if I know I like this band, and I listen to their 2 albums that they have, I'm already like kind of over it by the end of the week, and that's all I listen to.
Gotcha.
And then it becomes a job to like
find new stuff.
Yeah, find other artists that are in that similar category. Whereas like a podcast, it's like, okay, I know I like the host.
Right.
I can just listen to them, explore different fields of thought with like all these other people.
Right.
I just like shuffle my whole library.
Yeah, you do that.
It's like
I do the same thing.
It's never boring. It's like I like these songs, which is like why they're there. But at the same time, like I don't have any like expectation of what's coming next.
Gotcha. What do you guys use to listen to music?
I use Spotify.
Yep,
Spotify.
That's what I use. And I was gonna say with Spotify, like it creates playlists for you after a while, or it'll make like, hey, check out this artist, or even if you play a song, you'll just start a radio station.
Yep.
And you had that thing where it was like podcast and music in the same playlist. That they created for you.
Yeah, it's like a daily drive. So it's like there's like news, like and like business things that are happening, and like also like songs you like. So it's like kind of a good balance of like, you know, keeping you.
That's pretty cool.
Aware, but like also like stuff you want to do.
Some punk rock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you go from like NPR to like the Flash and stuff.
Well, I just feel like radios, like whenever I turn on like an actual radio station, like FM radio, it's the same stuff that's been playing for like the last 10 years at least, where like I was conscious of like what they were playing, and like it's so old, like I can't do it at all. Like it's not enjoyable anymore.
I mean, I figured at least driving through Atlanta from time to time, it's like the rock stations would play like they'd play this, like you're talking about similar music, but I'm guessing like the person that's playing it must really like that, or at least the listeners must like that, like saying the 70s or 80s or 90s.
Van Halen, this guy's sitting there in a Van Halen t-shirt. Like,
Right.
But like also, don't you like have to pay for licensing of like music and stuff? So like you have like a certain amount of like money to spend on music, so you're probably gonna play like the same songs because you already have like paper rights.
Yeah, it's like a catalog you can pick from.
Right.
And that's what's happening too. I think like a lot of radio stations are becoming large conglomerate corporation where like 102.5, they're trying to get every single FM station across the country, and they just have like, here's what you play from 5 to 7, here's what you play, like, and you just have a local person that like talks in between about like, on the Vine Expressway we have like bumper to bumper, and then that's the only local part about radio.
Gotcha.
And it's got to be what, like 5 minutes out of an hour of like what's already been pre-selected.
But I mean, radio kind of like cable, I feel like it's been well out of tune to where if you have like, you already have your own CDs that you could have already had, or your cassettes that you would listen to on the road, unless you had like the Sirius SX or whatever it is, like the satellite radio. But it's like with podcasts, basically that's what it kind of filled in that gap, where it's take whatever you want to listen to wherever you want, and you just download them and listen to them. And like if you're listening to like Joe Rogan, for instance, like you have any, like I think most of his are like 2 hours to almost like 3 hours.
Yep.
And I listened to a couple of his interviews with Jordan Peterson.
Okay.
And that was really interesting because Jordan is a clinical psychologist, and like he has the practice of actually treating people in the field of psychology, as well as like educating students in a like a college environment to be like, okay, like here's what's going on. And he kind of came up in the news recently with what is it, gender pronouns or something like that up in Canada. They had this law that came up, and he was like, you can't force me by law to use this language. It's like if somebody wants me to call him something, I'll do that freely, but the government stepping in and doing that is kind of like out of sorts.
Well, freedom of speech, right? Like I can call anybody I want like a curse word, like, or whatever I want. It's freedom of speech.
I think it has to go into being like categorized as hate speech.
Right.
If you like misgender someone on purpose, because it's kind of like, I don't know, using like a slur in a way. Like I think that's the argument there. But
I just kind of left it alone altogether. I was like, I don't know what's going on here, and it's like I'm not a part of the conversation, so I'm just going to stay out of it. But hearing them kind of like talk through it and explain it to me for the first time, I was like, oh, okay, that's what's going on. Yeah. And then like going back and actually watching some of the interviews that he did with reporters, it was hilarious. There's one where this lady, every time he says something, she responds with, so what you're saying is, and she just makes something up that has nothing to do with what he said. And what somebody did in the comments is that they timestamp every single time that says, what you're saying is, or what you mean to say, and there's like 25 of those in a row. And it's just like, he's just sitting there scratching his head like, oh my goodness.
This person's not even like, has no interest in listening to me.
Yeah.
Or what I have to say.
But I mean, that's where, I guess, I don't follow the news too much, or like on social media. I've been on it kind of trying to understand how it works and how like the business side of it works, and even knowing how to promote the podcast per se.
Right.
And just like put something out there that's useful to people, and just kind of hearing what happens on Twitter, or where everybody kind of gets up in arms about something. I'm like, that's not my fight.
But you still feel like you want to be connected, right? So you still like sort of partake.
Not, I mean, kind of like I mainly want to be connected to like people I've met over the years, and that's part of the reason why I'm like, okay, why not do this podcast as a way to say like, okay, let me reach out to people I've met over the course of my life, and like people that I just met because I joined this mastermind group back in 2016 called Breathe University, and it has like this huge collection of people that are either like they're just trying to better themselves personally, so it could be like mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, like whatever criteria it is, they just want to be a better person. And like the mastermind group has different calls and different like structures in place to actually help people along that way. And you just see people that like they have this private Facebook group where you can kind of go in, ask a question like, hey, I need help with this, or is there, like, whenever I started this, I was like, I know I have a tendency to be a bit monotone. Are there any voice coaches out there? And a rapper from LA reached out to me who's like, hey, I think this is a bus stop, but my turn's right there. Oh crap, what's he doing?
Nobody got off, I guess.
I guess not. But so I think this is my exit. So he reached out to me and commented. He's like, hey, I'm not a voice coach, but I think I may be able to help you out with being in my industry, like being a rapper. He's like been doing it since 2009, and we exchanged information on Messenger, Facebook Messenger, and then I think he called me within like the hour, and we basically chatted for a little bit, and he's just like, all right, here's what I need you to say. Just say this, like, it's my time. I was like, all right, like, say what? He's like, say, it's my time. And I was like, okay, it's my time. And I was just saying it. He had me say it like 3 times to kind of get the energy out. And he's like, okay, you see that? You created that energy. So he's like, take that and kind of run with it. And I was like, okay, cool. And then they had a speakers battle within the group. And I was like, oh, you know what? Let me just sign up to do whatever this is. Like, I'm not a speaker. Like, you have people that speak professionally and get paid for it. But I was like, if I'm going to get better at anything, I might as well, like, try something new.
Right.
And, like, I signed up last minute, got in there, and just basically gave it a shot and used that to kind of, like, launch me into saying, oh, like, let me call up my friend Theo the barber and see what he's up to. And then that's how I got to figure out how to use Zoom to record. That way it's like, hey, message somebody and tell them, send me your email. That way I send you a calendar invite. And now I have like a little platform where I can record and then download the video on my laptop and like upload it to YouTube and like figure out how to convert video to audio.
So how long does that process take from you like doing something, recording it, and then to like it's on your platform, it's on YouTube?
So like the longest part for me has been the downloading. Like from us recording, it takes a little bit of time to download depending on how big the file is, and I think it probably also has to do with let me make sure I'm in the right lane. All right. So say I record for like an hour and a half, it'll probably take 30 minutes for that to download to my computer. Mm-hmm. And then from there, I'll go ahead and upload it on YouTube, like unlisted. That way it gives me a shareable link that I can send it to the person I just recorded with and say, hey, give this a listen. Let me know if there's anything that I need to change or if you have any comments. And I didn't do that until like the 7th or 9th person that I recorded with, and I was like, oh yeah, I need to edit this at some point. Yeah. And I was like, I wasn't doing it, and I was like, it's better that I just upload it as it is, and then if something goes wrong, at least I have it to just be able to push it out. And since it's up there, whether you edit it or like whatever you decide to do with it, you can put it out ahead of time and basically schedule like the release date on it. So that way it's like you're not trying to fight with technical difficulties at the last minute to say, oh, like, I couldn't put it up because of A, B, C, or D.
Right, it just kind of unlocks it.
Yeah. And I guess YouTube has this cool feature where they it's like it premieres it. So then I started putting it out. I was like, okay, let me go ahead and put these out on October 1st. Since it was on a Tuesday, I was like, okay, I'll put it out every Tuesday at 5 p.m. And like, I think this last week was the 4th one I did. And the first few were a little bit rough. The 3rd one I did with with my friend the rapper that's out in Cali. And like, this one and I think the next one are definitely like much better, because the person that I recorded with is coming out with a book November 1st, and she was like the 21st recording. So I think like that one just went overall really well, and I was like, man, like, this person's amazing. Like, I've heard about her. Part of her story is that like she has I think it's called MS.
Oh yeah.
Yep. And at one point, I don't know if it was the illness specifically, but I think it kind of had her in a state where she couldn't walk properly, and she was partially blind. And she's been able to kind of like overcome that, and also having gone through like a divorce and just like the tolls that kind of took on her. She, whenever I first reached out to her, I was like, hey, I'd like to interview you. Can you send me like a bio about yourself, something where I can kind of like get an idea of what to ask you? And she sent me this video where she's talking about identifying the Lindas in your life, and just like, I'm gonna put it out on Tuesday, and how she talks about like what Linda is. It's an acronym, and then also like that speech that she gave was part of her training to become a certified speaker through the group that we're both a part of. And she was like nervous about it, but it's like, unless she told me that she was nervous about it, I would have never known. But like, it's amazing. Like, I think we got 5 minutes. If I could pull it up, I would play it for you. But like, just the power in her voice and how she's telling you. Essentially, she starts out the story where she's going to speak with her grandma, and her grandmother has, I guess, fear of storms. And she's just like, I can smell this storm coming. And she's like, Grandma, what are you talking about? And she's just like going around the house, like shutting all the doors and things. She's like, there's a storm coming. And essentially, she kind of goes into like what storms are, like, what's the word? Not like a storm like this, but like life storms, and kind of like what that represents, and essentially like how she learned to start to be able to get over those. Because you talk about somebody that's gone through divorce, overcoming being blind, health issues and things like that, but looking at her, you wouldn't think that.
Wow. That's awesome. So how, like, what can we find this on?
So right now it's on everything but Apple Podcasts. I'm trying to get that there, so it's on Spotify.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hold on 1 second. Let me pull out my phone. I'd love to just give it a save. What? Is it under your name or like?
No, it's My Time Podcast.
Your what?
It's My Time Podcast. So like how my friend was trying to get me to like get pumped up, that's essentially what I made the name of it. And I was like, oh, that happens to click. And
is it like red?
Yeah,
Red background with white.
Yeah, with a little mic.
Okay.
Yep.
Now I'll save it right here. Hey man, we should like stay in contact because this is pretty cool.
For sure.
And like just hearing you talk, so I've been telling her it too, like,
yeah.
I am obsessed with stand-up comedy, like really obsessed, and have been since I was like a child.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to find it in myself to like get out there and try and do something with that, you know? Like, I enjoy having conversations with people trying to make them laugh.
Yeah.
She says I'm pretty funny, but yeah, it's it's not that I don't think I'm not. It's I don't have the guts to like get up there.
I think you have the guts. You're just talking yourself out of it. And even for me doing this, it's just been like I recorded the first little bit when I was trying to figure out what to do, and then like 45 minutes into a conversation, I was like, oh crap, I should be recording this. And then I recorded it and just kind of like put it away because once I tried to listen back to it, I couldn't stand the sound of my voice, and I was like,
well, that's okay though. Like,
right.
That gives you a moment to like, okay, then it's like there's always going to be a next one that you can.
Right.
That one little thing that pissed you off, you can like turn around and make it better.
Exactly. And I mean, the main thing I would say to you is that like, would definitely stay in contact if you want to like comment your information on a video or something.
Okay.
Since it's not like huge, I can go back.
You'll
doing
see
my
the comment.
Yeah, I'll be able to see the comment and like go back and say, okay, like let me reach out to you, send you a calendar invite if you guys want to both jump on, and we'll just chat. And hopefully, if you have a what do you call it, like an open mic.
Yeah, the Comedy Catch has one on Tuesdays.
Just walk in there and walk up.
I know, I need to
like
do it.
literally tomorrow, I've been going to this thing, it's called Soul Food Cypher, and basically it's a group of MCs in Atlanta that get together once a month and they freestyle and do different exercises and things like that. Is this it? Yeah. Oops. Sorry.
That's in Atlanta?
Yeah, so tomorrow it's going to be at the Georgia Tech Annex bookstore. And so like if you go to Georgia Tech, it's like off to the side a little bit, but it's not hard to find. I think they'll promote it on Instagram. And last time I went there, I was like, oh, I'm so excited about just like filming it. And then like people were just like, hey, you should get in there, you should get in there. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to do the writing assignment and I'm going to like just step in there. If I don't find any words, I'm going to be like, hey, I tried. And just
that's it, right?
bomb and then fall forward. Is this it for you guys?
I think so.
Oh, dude, we got no idea. We're about to find out.
This guy's all dressed up.
Yeah, right. We tried.
I'm saying.
Well, it's nice to meet you.
Asher,
Likewise,
right?
yes.
Peter.
Nice to meet you, Peter. Alexa, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Have a great night, man.
You too.
Hopefully we hear from each other soon.
Yes, sir. Take care.
Yep, take care.
Just ahead, make a slight right turn on River Hill Circle.
That's what's up, man.
Make a slight right turn
Just
on River Hill Circle.
having our first Uber ride experience. I better turn this off before I forget.